This is SME Onpoint. I'm Liabo Setho. 2 days ago, the Finance Minister Tito Mboweni tabled the 2020 national budget. In it, government plans to improve the effectiveness of the preferential small business tax regime. The national budget is important because it gives us a glimpse into the financial state of the country. But budgeting in your business is just as important. It helps with both planning and controlling of the finances of the business. So our featured business of the week, Orange Pie, conceptualized a platform that can assist small businesses in budgeting and forecasting. This is Orange Pie's story, edited by Katleho Mokomele. Successful businesses allocate time to create and manage budgets. They prepare and review business plans and regularly monitor their financial situation and business performance. Orange Pie is a tech startup that wants to ensure that other businesses have control over their finances. Johannes Ramotale and his partner have created an easy-to-use accounting platform.
Orange Pie is a platform that allows small business owners, right, from startup to even a well-established organization, to be able to come online, create an account, and manage your transactions from your quotations, invoices, expenses, and a little bit of a point of sale system. If you are collecting money immediately, you're not sending out invoices. Therefore, it's actually good that you have a system that allows you to record that transaction immediately.
Ramotale says their research found that most entrepreneurs go into business without proper accounting systems. This causes them to make mistakes with their finances and in turn has a negative implication for the business. And this is where their platform comes in.
It allows businesses to have, just in time or in real time recording of their transactions, at any time access to their financial information. Should a small business owner find themselves in an environment where they meet an investor or somebody who's interested in partaking in their business. Yeah. So the platform would allow them to immediately display that information without even having to go out and get this paper, get that paper, get that paper. The information is already there for you.
Orange Pie took a deliberate decision to operate from Tembisa in Eguruleni so that SMEs have access to them. With this system, you are able to generate quotations, invoices, track your expenses in real time, and also calculate tax.
Entrepreneurs are struggling very, very hard to calculate tax, especially because it's a very complicated thing, right? So, what if we simplify it for everybody? You log in, here's your tax, here's your revenues, here's your cost of service, here's your expenses, and here's your profit.
Orange Pie is offering their basic service for free. All one needs is access to the internet.
Startup entrepreneurs do not have their money monthly, so sometimes it's not there, sometimes it's there. So we thought, if we eliminate the need for an entrepreneur or the pain for an entrepreneur to pay monthly for these accounting services, they could have them available readily, right? However, for our side of the value, we do have premium services, right? Even though we do provide you with a comprehensive and amazing free platform, some services that we do get at a premium, we also resell them to the entrepreneurs. Right. So we are adding premium services wherever we can in order so that we can also, get something out of the platform. But the bulk of it, the major part of it that is required by small businesses, it's free.
You see, we always hook you up with some free stuff. So thank you so much to Johannes Ramotale at Orange Pie for sharing his story with SME Onpoint. So the Mapungubwe Institute for Strategic Reflection has launched its latest research publication titled Beyond Tenderpreneurship, Rethinking Black Business and Economic Empowerment. So this publication examines the socio-economic impact of BEE legislation and the diverse experiences of black entrepreneurs in post-apartheid South Africa. Kwezi Mabasa, he's the senior researcher at Mistra and has joined us on SME Onpoint for more. Welcome to SME Onpoint. Thank you so much for coming through. What necessitated English this research?
Thanks for having me.
Sure.
Well, there are two motivating factors. The first one is to get a real sense, based on research, on the socio-economic impact of black economic empowerment over the past 25 years. But secondly, to interrogate this notion of tenderpreneurship. And hence the title is called Going Beyond Tenderpreneurship.
Yeah.
Because there's a view in society that all black entrepreneurs are either dependent on state procurement and predominantly procurement that is facilitated through corrupt relations. And so we wanted to interrogate and that particular notion.
I know that for many entrepreneurs, the first foot in the door is to go getting a tender. The first foot in the door into entrepreneurship, that is to get a tender. And we've seen the challenges that have been associated with having a tender. Some people, of course, have gone on and become very successful entrepreneurs, and others, unfortunately, have failed. What trends and most important key themes have you found in this research?
Okay. So the first point to make is that there's nothing inherently wrong with getting state procurement. The problem is the perversion of that procurement process and its implementation because of corrupt dealings or not adhering to particular legislation. But what we found is that, especially when it comes to smaller black-owned SMMEs, within particularly the local context, there are some challenges with meeting the criteria as prescribed in the legislation. And this is for a number of reasons. One, the level of competition in various industries is still less. So industries are very concentrated, and therefore when these small enterprises try to compete on price, it's very difficult. Secondly, what you find is that the implementation of broad-based black economic empowerment within different municipalities is not coordinated and coherent. And that presents a challenge for small businesses. And thirdly, there's also sometimes a discord between the local economic development strategy and also what is stated in BEE policy prescripts.
I wonder if there was an issue or you went and delved into the issue of bribes. I know that a lot of people talk about getting tenders and having had to pay bribes for that tender to effectively be activated. Was this something you looked at when you did your research?
Yes, it was. And in some cases, it did occur. But then there were also other success stories where people followed the law, followed the policy prescripts, and have become successful. And the issue with regards to the bribe and the incorrect implementation of BE legislation is related to a number of factors. The one is just blatant corruption. The second is a misunderstanding of BE legislation from both state authorities and even within the private sector. And then the third thing is the fact that some entities just compete within the existing framework.
I know that one of the other things that government talks about is the 30% of local procurement. You know, I'm wondering about what you found with regards to, I know there's slow implementation of government procuring, particularly on small businesses, and this tends to be quite an issue for them.
It is quite an issue, but we wanted to raise the bar a bit. We were saying you can prescribe the 30%, but we've also got to look at whether people are using products that are made in South Africa. So for example, does that 30% also translate to local product designation? Because it's no use us having a BE 30% category or a piece of legislation or regulation, and then we importing most of the goods. Because we have to look at BE differently through building value chains. Because when you build value chains and also link it to local production, you're more likely to have what we call broad-based and more multiplier positive socio-economic effects.
As Mr. what do you make of the triple BE? You know, it was designed in order to address, you know, black participation into the economy. What are you finding, especially within the tenderpreneurship space?
What we found was that there are very few success stories, but by and large, to be quite honest, the policy hasn't met the intended policy objectives. And there are a number of reasons for that. The first one is that we've separated BE from restructuring the economy. Particularly when we look at competition policy and industrial policy. So BE can only produce the intended effects that we want if it's related to decreasing the levels of concentration, if it's related to supporting entrepreneurs who want to produce real products and participate in manufacturing and other sectors. The second issue why BE hasn't achieved the intended objectives is that in its implementation, the various stakeholders haven't really implemented all the aspects of the legislation. So if you look at some of the BE Commission's findings, what you find is that in some empowerment transactions, the beneficiaries don't even participate in key decision-making structures of these particular entities. And then the third problem, I think, has been that we think about BE only in terms of transfer of equity or shares, Whereas we argue BEE should produce other positive socio-economic issues.
More than that.
Jobs, skills, and so forth.
Yeah. Let's talk about the recommendations that MISTRA has put forward in this publication, and where our viewers can find a copy of Beyond Tenderpreneurship, and for how much.
Okay, yeah. So some of the key recommendations, the one is that BEE should be embedded in restructuring the economy of South Africa. So you can't see BEE as just an accounting principle, but you've got to have it as a policy mix within competition and industrial policy. The second thing is that the only way to broaden BEE is also to look at enterprises that are outside the Johannesburg Stock Exchange.
Okay.
So in other words, small black SMMEs have to drive BEE. And we would argue not only SMMEs in the formal sector, but those in the informal sector, because that's where we find most black entrepreneurs. The third thing is that we have to redesign how we assess a good empowerment transaction. It cannot be based on just financial indicators, but it must also be based on the operations of the business, changing the operations of the business and entering new markets.
And then quickly, where can one get a copy of Beyond Tenderpreneurship?
So you can get a copy either at MISTRA, at MISTRA Sales, or you can get it at Exclusive Books. Or Jakana, and it goes for 320.
For 320.
Yes.
Kwesi Mabasa, thank you so much for joining us on SME On Point. I hope that our viewers will take advantage and go to MISTRA and other outlets to get a copy of Tenderpreneurship to see for themselves what kind of recommendations are there and what your research has found. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So our inspirational quote this week is from Katleho Mokomele. Thank you. And he says in it, what you wish for leaves you stagnant, and what you aim for propels you towards your aspirations. That is from Katleho Mokomele. He was so generous sending us a couple of these inspirational quotes. We thank him very much for doing that. All right, thank you very much for watching SME On Point. Of course, do feel free to engage me on the featured business of the week, as well as our studio conversation on Setho LE at sabc.co.za.